a day-long, very intentional discussion about the environment, about environmental justice, and more specifically, how the environment affects how environmental injustice impacts Black people, our Black communities, particularly in places like Philadelphia. We've been doing this in recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day, but this is also an extension of our EcoWord Environmental Justice Project. So we've been doing this with our good friends at Bartram's Garden and also at From the Source Reporting Collaborative. And we are supported all throughout the day by PICO. I want to thank them, the Watershed Education Alliance, thank you, the Limfest Institute, thank you, and the William Penn Foundation as well. I got Obama Haggins, the Philly Green Man, joining us right now. He was talking to me earlier. I do apologize for that, Philly Green Man. So let's start. Let's restart this. Let's restart it because we do have some time and the phone lines are open in case folks want to call. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. So I was asking you earlier. So let's re-loop on that again. What motivated you to get into this green space, into this environmental landscape in the first place?
Yeah, you know, while we was on the break, I was thinking about when I was younger.
Yeah,
my family, we used to go to flea markets, and you know, I gained a liking to use things, you know, and then moving forward, you know, I would see things, you know, that people would throw away, like pieces of furniture, and I would pick that up.
Right.
But then in 2008, when President Obama he was talking about the green economy, and that triggered something in me to start getting those things that people would throw away and make a business out of it. And ultimately that led to me primarily collecting sneakers and shoes that people throw away and have them shipped to Haiti and West Africa. And, you know, in that vein, I would really... I'm really working to get 1 million pair by the end of the year. So it's like there's 2.5 million pair of footwear that's purchased every week in America, and about 80% of those sneakers and shoes that are thrown away still have life in them. So and they're one of the hardest things to break down in the landfill, you know, because of the plastic and the glues and the dyes. It just really is a very bad thing to just throw away like that. But particularly because people in West Africa and Haiti, they actually have a business, you know, from those sneakers and shoes. So I'm able to collect those. They have them shipped over to West Africa and to Haiti, and they're able to provide affordable footwear for people who would normally not be able to, you know, pay, you know, to pay full price for them. And it also creates businesses for people because in the marketplace they sell all those things. And those are basically things that the average American throws away all the time.
Yeah, when did this become also political for you, right? Because, you know, at one point, like I know a few years ago, you were running for city council, you know, and on this really ultra green platform. And then, so I guess there's two questions or a two-part question to this. One, when did it become political for you? When did suddenly what you're doing as a business suddenly become a political and public policy imperative? That's one. And then the second part of it is, when did you start to realize that, hey, you know what, this is not just a business. This is a quality of life imperative. This is something crucial that all of Philadelphia should be doing, and this is particularly crucial. This is particularly critical for Black Philadelphia.
Right. Well, I actually ran for state rep in the 182nd district in 2008, I believe, against Babette Joseph and Brian Sims, and so, you know, I had to drop out of that race. Brian challenged my signatures, you know, so he got me out of the race. But then last year I ran for city council, and one of the things that I identified was that there were at least 3 areas where there could be a win-win situation for the city and for the city in terms of the government and for the city at large. And one of my platform planks was that, there's a large land bank here in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And around the country, people are using high-rise buildings to grow food. So that's one major thing that could, number one, deal with the food desert that exists here in Philadelphia, but it could also provide jobs for people. And the other thing is that the land, the actual land, obviously can be used to grow food during the winter, during the summertime, and also have what's called hoop houses, mm-hmm. where they can actually grow food in the wintertime as well. So it's really like the city is really not. They don't see the vision really in the green economy. They are looking at it as if, okay, let's keep it clean, but we can keep it clean, but we can also produce jobs and keep the environment clean at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I did open up the phone lines, Philly Green Man, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900, as we're having our discussion with the Philly Green Man. And in fact, we have Reverend Bonkale is joining us, Reverend Bonkale, out of North Philly, whom we always, occasionally we have some good discussion as well about, the environment at the intersection of all these other issues. Reverend, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I am doing really great. And I really love the foundation from which the program is based. Black folks and the environment. Mm-hmm. Me myself, I'm an unapologetic black preacher whose ministry mm-hmm. is actually driven by what I think is the two primary directives of the Bible: mm-hmm. agape love and benevolent stewardship. So, mm-hmm. so thank you for any role that you played in making this happen. I wanted to get in on the conversation earlier when you had Representative Bullock, Rev. and Reverend Malcolm Kenyatta, mm-hmm. especially Malcolm Kenyatta, because he's one of the few politicians that really responds to my outreach. Now, the first time I ever talked to you was last year, actually, at the Environmental Summit program about a project called the Lehigh Arborway Project. And mm-hmm. that's a tree planting project that my church and Interfaith Power and Light started to plant trees between 9th and 13th Street on Lehigh Avenue.
That's right.
And we did do the first 4 trees, and COVID kind of slowed us down. But between now and next spring, we're hoping to plant at least another 20 trees. And I'm hoping that WURD would be a co-sponsor. It's not going to cost y'all any money, but right. it would help in getting the word out and making it cool again, for trees to come back into the hood.
Let me ask you, Reverend, too, speaking of tree planting, because, we just talked with the project lead for the city's the Urban Forest Strategic Planning Plan. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Has the city reached out to you? Are you familiar with that plan? Are you in any way involved with it?
I'm not familiar with that plan, but I'm working with the Philadelphia Horticultural Society in their tree tending a program. And basically what they do twice a year, they have classes for anybody who wants to get a tree in front of their house. Okay. Right. And the trees are free. They'll come out, assuming that there's no utilities or pipes in the way. They'll actually come out and cut the curb, and in most cases even provide assistance in the actual planting of the trees, because they expect the homeowner or the people that they're planting the trees for to take part in their actual upkeep. So
you haven't been. So is this the city that you're in touch with, because this is like there's a whole plan they're rolling out. It's under the Mayor's Fund for Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Urban Forest Strategic Plan, and that's something. I'm going to follow up with a question of Philly Green Man on this, but Reverend, so you have had no contact with a city agency, or no city agency who knows what you're doing has reached like Parks and Rec, because this was a representative from Philadelphia Parks and Rec. They're rolling out this really ambitious, they call it an Urban Forest Strategic Plan. You go to mayorsfundphila.org. And you know, one of the big key elements to them operating this is to work with community groups, to work with groups just like yours. That hasn't happened.
That hasn't happened. However, you know the old saying, you know, every mile begins with one step. And
Right.
so one of the things that my personal goal is that, you know, I'm only talking about, you know, 20 to 40 trees, but I'm hoping that would be like the prime and the pump, okay? And if this is publicized right, then there are multiple agencies that work with a different organization. I was just talking to some people the other day about trees that are specifically for yards, okay? Our particular project is trees specifically for curbside, and they plant trees that are like where you have overhead utilities. They'll plant smaller trees, so there's a lot more sophistication with the actual planting. Okay, so but I'm not averse to you know, reaching out and tying in with these other organizations or the city, because like I said, I want this particular project to be a jump starter as opposed to a project in and of itself. And other folks who are interested can sort of take the ball and run on, because people don't always want to follow one organization or be on the end. That doesn't bother me. What I want to do, and this is just one of the projects we're doing, what I want to do is, like I said, get this thing jump started and, you know, get this conversation, and because it's a conversation that matters, into a larger audience, because this is not just something from the suburbs, okay? This can affect, you know, where we live. You know, the whole heat island discussion, okay? The whole aesthetics of what the community looks like, okay? People being able, above me on the heat island thing, the children being able to come out on the streets and play when it's 100 degrees, and with the asphalt and the concrete and the climate crisis, the heat's going to get even more exacerbated. So again, I want to make sure that you hear what I'm saying about WURD sort of potentially co-sponsoring this, and so we can really underline not just the Lehigh Avenue Arborway, but this whole idea of tying back in things like planting trees with the hood. You know what I'm saying?
No, that makes perfect sense. I appreciate it. Reverend, if you could do me a favor too, like reach back to me, because for some reason, like I've lost track of, like, I think there was an email exchange. It might have been like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I can't find an email for you, and I do have an email for you, I think.
I thought you
cut. It would be good.
I had a brother cut me off. I thought you cut a brother off.
Yeah, right. No, not at all. So it's just the schedule that it gets ahead of you.
Sir.
But, if you could, like, let's reconnect and send that to me. C. Ellison at wordradio.com, and information on what you're trying to do with that tree project. That's what I'm looking for. I can't find the tree project information, and I have an email. But anyway, forward that to me, and let's restart that. And then let's talk a little further offline about it.
Very good. I appreciate you, my brother.
I appreciate you too. All right, thanks so much, Philly. Greenman, like, talk to us about because that's what I'm confused on. Here we have efforts like Reverend Bonkale. I am aware of what he was trying to do on Lehigh Avenue, and but here the city is saying they're rolling out this big, ambitious urban forest strategic plan. And I'm not so sure that they're really truly connected with community groups on the ground, or folks like Reverend Bonkale, or even folks like you.
No, not really. I mean, I don't know what that's all about. I mean, I know that if I was, you know, in a council position, and I knew of people and organizations that were doing great work but just needed a little push, I would identify them and bring them in and, you know, help them, you know, to file the proper paperwork, to, you know, whatever needs to be done to take them to the next level.
Right.
And I'm just reminded, you brought politics into this thing here, man, but I'm just reminded when, you know, I was running, one of the things I often said was that, you know, not only did our ancestors die for the right to vote, but they also died so that we could have people in position that could help our people.
Right.
And I just don't see that happening on a large scale with our elected officials, you know?
No. Yeah. I don't know, like, earlier today we had an environmental justice policy panel.
Right.
We made invitations, or we extended invitations to city council members to participate with us in this day-long EcoWord Summit on some level, even if they couldn't make the environmental justice policy panel. Maybe later on this evening we could get someone. We had hoped that we would get Councilwoman Cindy Bass, who's been doing, at least in the council, has been focused a lot on environmental justice issues, or claims to be. She couldn't make it.
Right.
We couldn't get it. We had 3 state representatives. We had 3 representatives, 3 state legislators representing the Philly area from the state. We had no official city government perspective on during this entire day, this entire focus on how big a topic environmental justice is in the city of Philadelphia. We have no sense from this day on the only Black-owned talk radio station in the entire state of Pennsylvania, and the only Black outlet in the country that is doing a whole day. First of all, is doing a whole day on environmental justice issues. 1, 2, is the only Black media outlet in the whole country that's daily dedicated and focused on environmental justice issues. Not one member of Philadelphia City Council or anyone from city government participating. Like, I don't get that. So that's my other question too, is that I hear the city talking a lot about it wants to go green, right? But then, like, you're approving, but your city council approves 2 natural gas plants.
Right.
I don't get that. Like, how do you go green? But it's like you're not participating in any real intentional way in grassroots environmental justice stuff. I mean, other than like a hearing here or there, and then 2, you're approving natural gas plants in a place that has one of the, like, it has arguably the highest big city asthma rate in the country as a result of that kind of pollution. I don't get it. It baffles the mind. But go ahead, Philly Greenman.
Well, you remember in the vice presidential debate when they were talking about fracking?
Right.
Okay, so fracking is actually against the Pennsylvania state constitution. According to Article 1, Section 27, it says that the people have a right to clean air,
right,
pure water, and the preservation of natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic value of the environment. PA public natural resources are the common property of all the people, including generations to come.
Right.
So, I mean, and I just don't understand that even being a topic today, knowing that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That environmental rights amendment, right? That's in the Pennsylvania Constitution. That's like the first statewide environmental rights amendment in the country, like for a state constitution, and then other states followed after the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania inserted that. We're talking with Philly Greenman or Obona Hagens.
Obona Hagen.
Obona Hagen, excuse me, who is, sorry about that, I mangled your name for just going so quick, who is also AKA Philly Greenman, and he's joining us here on our EcoWord. This is our evening EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit segment. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to keep you there, Philly Greenman, and take a break, and then we come back on the other side. We still have the phone lines open at 215-634-8065. Toll free 866-361-0901. Keep you on because we lost a little bit of time at the beginning due to some technical glitches, but since we're flowing right now, just keep you on. I got some more questions for you. We're going to take a quick break here on EcoWord, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, WURD app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
But they've got the experience.
I'm still in shock 3 or 4 years later that we're in this position now. Our democracy is at a pivotal point.
From the top, we don't trust our government. We see the trouble we're in economically. We've got 170,000 Americans dead, and yet this president will do anything he can to make it seem like things are better than they are.
I did more for the Black community than anybody with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
It's our responsibility. If we don't lead that effort to make things better, we can't ask other people to do it. There is no good reason not to vote.
Right, we need to have individuals that are in office like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
They are our best shot to take us forward.
And that's what makes me incredibly hopeful, but we really do have to work for this thing.
To the thousands who did not vote, we need you to show up for our future and for our country.
You cannot sit on the sidelines. You got to get in the game.
Paid for by Biden for president.
New Voices for Reproductive Justice is registering Black women and their families in Philly to vote. The general election is on November 3rd. You can register to vote online at rock.vote/New Voices. That's rock.vote/New Voices. The deadline to register is October 19th. If you need assistance registering to vote, visit newvoicesrj.org.
COVID-19 impacted a lot of things this year, including regular vaccination appointments. Vaccines help protect you and everyone around you, especially during flu season. Schedule an appointment with your healthcare provider today to make sure you and your children are vaccinated. Vaccines keep us safe, and they work. Skip the flu this year. Get your vaccination today. Let's stay protected together. For more information, visit health.pa.gov, paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Hey, WURD family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
All right, welcome back. We're here with our EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit. Our day-long, this is the end, we're capping the day-long EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit here on the home of Black Talk Media, WURD. We're also at hashtag EcoWord for more on that social media conversation. We're being joined by Obona Higgins, who is also known as Philly Green Man. Philly Green Man, go to Philly_Green_Man on Instagram, also Philly Green Man on Facebook as well. He's joining us by phone, and we open up the phone lines in case you'd like to join in on the conversation. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. Let me go to JB out of Philly, who's calling in for our EcoWord conversation. JB?
Bless, Brother Charles. God bless, Brother Charles.
All right.
How you making that,
Peace.
family?
All right, I'm good. I'm good. Peace.
Give God the glory. And, of course, God bless my brother, Obana Higgins. It's been so long. How you been, family?
All right, how you doing?
You remember?
Yep, long time, man. James Beatty, man.
From ever since, brother. And it's good to hear your voice on the radio. And, of course, I pray the family's well. Shout out to our brother, DJ Frosty Phoenix, Eric Nixon, always doing an amazing job.
That's right. Yeah, he is.
And, of course, God bless all the WRD family and all the victims. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers are with them.
Right.
And everyone working to make it better like y'all. May be blessed to get it together. Brother Charles, I got to commend you. Straight up and down. Dope. Today, straight dope. Real rap. I check from start to finish. You know what I mean?
All right.
Well, it ain't over yet. It ain't never over. But I really got to commend you, Phil. It's dope. Straight dope. And I'm meaning to ask you, I wanted to commend you for bringing up environmental justice in terms like ecocide that I don't really hear people be talking about. Because it reminds me how narrow-mindedly we've been bred to behave. Everybody in a clamor about getting a slice of this system pie, but nobody talking about how corrupted and polluted the pie is. You know what I mean? But anyway, there's more. As far as planting trees, when they plant them, can we plant some food trees? Like I was just watching a special that the pawpaw fruit is indigenous to this area. So we could plant some of them. So people ain't got no money, they can at least eat some pawpaw. And what be some other trees? A cherry tree maybe? I remember a neighbor in the backyard had a peach tree.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
You're right. You're right.
No, I ain't right. But I mean, it makes sense. I wanted to say also regarding the Empress Major Carter and how people heard something and then started protesting against it. The importance of our people practicing due diligence and vetting, because it seems like an important skill we terribly lack. We run with something, end up getting a runaround, and then don't understand why we ain't running nothing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you never notice how the word indigenous and the word indigent can get used interchangeably? More times than not these days. It's a shame. But the female lady with the waterworks, I don't know if she knows what she's talking about. Dr. Paul be coming on and saying our water is real bad. Pharmaceuticals and everything that ain't getting filtered out. Plus, I got life experience. My dad used to drink the tap water, right? He ended up in the worst health ever, hospitalized. So that's real rap. Stay away from the tap water, y'all. All right? I was wondering a couple things, too. How come we didn't have none of our brothers and sisters from the MOVE organization on? You know, they've been about this from jump. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And also, the Lenape. You know the Lenape trace their heritage straight from Africa? As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, the Lenape is actually an African word from one of the tribes. You can find out. It's there. And this for all the producers, when I used to call in and say, they asked me where I'm calling from, say I'm calling from Algonquin land. And they didn't know what I'm talking about. I hope y'all get it now. Anyway, one more thing. And this is for everybody, do what you want. You know, 1 acre of marijuana can take in 4 times the amount of carbon dioxide and give off 4 times the amount of oxygen as an acre of trees. What's up with the city playing that? More love.
All right, JB out of Philly, thanks for calling in. I appreciate that. Some food for thought, literal food for thought this Monday evening here on Indigenous People Day. Want to give some thoughts on that, Philly Green Man? And you know, go ahead, and then I got a couple other questions for you. You know, I wanted to ask too, how you would sort of inspire or motivate residents to get involved on issues like this, the same way like you do in a similar kind of fashion, in a similar way, right? Because we want people to get, to kind of to get that movement going. But go ahead.
You know, I actually was thinking about that very same thing, right?
Right.
And here's the thing. At the end of the day, we have to be responsible for ourselves. You know, if everybody said, you know what, I'm going to go out and sweep in front of my door, the block will be clean. But we're not the city don't have anything to do with that.
Right.
You know, we have the responsibility of that. So, I mean, marketing and advertising. I don't know why there's not a campaign to deal with, transforming the people's minds to at least think about not throwing trash out the window.
Right.
To at least be more conscious about recycling. And then the city has to, or really the state, there's a bill, I think it's Bill 1322, in regards to the city paying, the state paying the deposit on the plastic bottle, where they would, like in New York, they have a machine where you put the bottles in and you get 5 cents for each bottle. So that'll promote, people will make a few dollars. I mean, some people collect bottles and really make, a lot of money.
Right.
And so it would, pretty much grow 2 flowers with one seed. It'll help clean the city, and we'll be recycling the plastic. Because a lot of the plastic, right now is not really getting recycled.
No.
There's plenty of articles about that. So, it's some replanning and some vision, I think, that our elected officials have to start doing, right? But also the people have to start, doing something too, because we can't just wait for government to do it, because we see that they're not.
Right.
So we can't just, sit back and just see it getting worse and worse. We can figure this out. I mean, we have enough brilliant minds in this city to be able to sit down and get this city together. Because, as a man thinketh, so is he. So, like, I guess they just thinking about trash. and dumping and not coming up with solutions.
Where's that trash and that recycling going though these days?
I have no idea. I heard that it was. I read that it was going right with the regular trash. Because a lot of times the plastic is the recycling bins are so polluted where they have so many materials in there that really are not recyclable, and it just causes a big problem.
But then it's like, okay, if you had that kind of, like, if you finally figured it out, like as far as how to recycle better and more efficiently, then where does the recycled plastic go? I mean, does it just end up in a landfill in Chester, or does it? Well, I mean, what do we do with that? I mean,
that plastic is usually it was shipped overseas, and they were making other products like carpet and different plastic, different other types of plastic like chairs and things like that from that plastic.
Yeah. Now we got it's been problematic because then we got the trade war with China, and then China they don't want to take the recyclable waste that they used to take or certain places. We're talking right now with Philly Green Man, 215-634-8065 while the phone lines are open. 215-634-8065. Got a few more minutes. 866-361-0900. Obona Higgins is joining us, Philly Green Man, here during our day-long EcoWord. So we've got to bring you on a little bit more often on Reality Check. So I haven't forgotten about you, but I finally remembered you. I said I owe this brother a couple of segments. So
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing now. But I mean, the city talking about, wants to get greener, so it's got like the urban forest strategic plan, right? It's doing more stormwater management. It's saying that it wants to get greener. It's saying it is getting greener. But I mean, it's still on some level that's got to be positive, right? That's a positive development that's putting us in the right direction.
Well, I mean, I guess, but it's some other problems, particularly in the inner city, like the dumping issues, all the weeds that are just growing up out of the sidewalk everywhere. Those issues need to be front center, and I think it's a real simple solution. You have to designate trash trucks that'll simply just drive around and pick up where the dumping is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether maybe it could be a union issue. I don't know what it could possibly be. Yeah. I mean, I know COVID, affected the budget and everything, but there's some simple solutions if they have a vision of actually having a clean city. And to me, obviously, their vision is not to have a clean city. Because they're not taking it serious. I mean, it's a health issue in and of itself.
And now let's talk about real quick. Let's touch on gun violence in the city, right? Because this directly relates to that. Like, the cleaner a city you have, you feel like that could make a real dent in that if you achieve a cleaner city. If you're planting more trees, if you're doing some of these more deliberative type things, where the at least the city environment is a lot more healthy to live in. So I mean, that handles that gun violence problem. Maybe making that direct linkage between what you're talking about and gun violence, which is front and center for most Philadelphians right now, we could make some real headway on that.
Right. I mean, the environment definitely affects how you think, how the mind is. But the other thing is, they're not really addressing the real issue of why there's not peace, why there's a lot of violence. I mean, where are the jobs? Where are the actual opportunities? Our education system is just in the garbage truck, so to speak. And I mean, what do we expect? If all those things exist, and we know that they exist in the city, it's like what you see is what you get. And like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. If we don't take our people serious and have them really expect the very best, we have to promote those types of things. It may be idealistic and pie in the sky, but isn't that what we really want? Don't we really want a city of peace? So, I mean, we have to really have some real you can't put a Band-Aid on it. You can't just keep arresting people. You have to get to the root problem of why there's so much violence. And obviously they haven't, figured it out.
We've been talking with Philly Green man Obana Higgins, joining us here, longtime environmental advocate, green activist, green entrepreneur, and here in Philly, Philly Green Man. Go to Philly_Green_man on Instagram, or Philly Green Man. Look for him on Facebook. Joining us here on the last hours of our day-long EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit. Really appreciate you, Obana. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. We'll be in touch.
No problem. Hey, Charles.
Yes, sir.
Can I give a number for anyone who wants to donate any sneakers or shoes?
Yeah, go ahead. Give that number.
Yeah. If you have any unwanted sneakers or shoes you're going to just toss in the trash, give me a call at 484-540-5430.
All right, put that number out one more time.
484-540-5430.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that, Obana Higgins. All right, we'll talk soon. Take care.
All right, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Be safe out there. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, phone lines still remain open. That's 1-215-634-8065, 866-361-0900, and Daryl Addison of Torpedo Pot is going to be joining us next here on EcoWord. It's EcoWord all day on Indigenous Peoples Day, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, WURD app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
But they've got the experience.
I'm still in shock 3 or 4 years later that we're in this position now. Our democracy is at a pivotal point.
From the top, we don't trust our government. We see the trouble we're in economically. We've got 170,000 Americans dead, and yet this president will do anything he can to make it seem like things are better than they are.
I did more for the black community than anybody with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
It's our responsibility. If we don't lead that effort to make things better, we can't ask other people to do it. There is no good reason not to vote.
Right, we need to have individuals that are in office like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
They are our best shot to take us forward.
And that's what makes me incredibly hopeful, but we really do have to work for this thing.
To the thousands who did not vote, we need you to show up for our future and for our country.
You cannot sit on the sidelines. You got to get in the game.
Paid for by Biden for president.
Have you heard about Penny? They make it easier than ever to get health coverage.
What if I'm self-employed?
Penny gets you covered.
Unemployed?
Penny gets you covered.
What about my family?
Penny gets them covered too.
But will this fit into my budget?
Penny can connect you to financial help to lower the cost.
Really? Where do I go?
Easy. Just go to PENNIE.com or call 1-844-844-8040.
WURD Radio presents the following information to help you navigate the upcoming election.
This is Charles Ellison, host of Reality Check on WURD. More than 2/3 of all poll workers are 61 years of age or older. That's created a serious poll worker shortage, as older poll workers are understandably nervous about health risks during pandemic. If you or someone you know under the age of 40 is looking for part-time work and is interested in contributing to their community, sign up to be a poll worker today. In Pennsylvania, go to votespa.com, click on Be a Poll Worker, and complete an application. Keep following us at onWURD on Twitter, facebook.com/forward, and #WordOnPolitics for constant updates on election 2020. And remember, vote early.
Stay informed and vote. For more from Charles Ellison, tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or visit WURDradio.com. It's the return of Nick Taliaferro. Catch Nick beginning Tuesday, October 13th. Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. Nick Taliaferro makes his return Tuesday, October 13th from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live at WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook. Home of the Happy Hour. With Sincerely Sarita. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at WURDradio.com and on the WURD Radio app. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at forward. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
All right, we're back at it here on EcoWord Evening. It's EcoWord Evening. We're at the end of our day-long Environmental Justice Summit. We've been doing it since 10 a.m. this morning, and can't talk about the environment enough, how important it is, especially in a community like Philly. And so you've been getting that. We've been doing the best we can to present you as many of those conversations as we can and as many of those luminaries and leaders in this space as we can. We may have missed a few along the way, so I appreciate actually some of those suggestions and things to think about from Brother JB, who called in a little bit earlier, so I appreciate that. And definitely that wasn't intentional, but we're going to continue. You know, with us, we keep this EcoWord thing going. We do it on a regular basis, on a daily basis here on WURD. So our only intent is to expand it more, and we will do that. Phone lines are open. I want to see if you all have been making the connection, if you all appreciate what we're trying to do here, if you all understand what we've been talking about, and if you're seeing how critical an issue this is, how this is a top priority issue for you. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. So for us, this whole notion of covering the environment and covering things like environmental justice, it didn't just kind of, just sort of magically pop into our heads a week or so ago, and then we said, oh, okay, let's do it just because it happens to be Indigenous Peoples Day. No, that's not the reason. It's something we've been doing for quite a long time. This is the second time that we've done an all-day of programming on this topic. We did it back on Earth Day back in April of this year while we were in the thick of pandemic and shutdown mode, and it was important back then. It's still important today. It's even more important, and it's even more crucial, a lot more alarming, particularly as we get close to this election, because if there is one thing that this election is also about that we don't talk about enough, it's about the fate of this planet, literally about the fate of the planet. It's not just, of course there are other big issues that we've been paying attention to and talking about here on WURD, issues like racial injustice, issues like voter suppression, issues like the pandemic, obviously, and the enormous pain and job loss and evictions and foreclosures and hunger and food insecurity that people are going through as a result of pandemic, and really as a result of corruption and government malfeasance and incompetence, right? But it's also the election is about saving us from that, or taking the first big step towards correcting all of that or fixing that. But this election is also about literally saving the planet, because we're also seeing the planet is just literally is on fire, and it's a result of that corruption, that malfeasance, and this absolute rejection of what's happening to us, particularly with climate crisis. And how this is a priority issue, especially for our communities who are on the front line of that. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. And in fact, today, speaking of, before I bring on our next guest, today we were watching also closely, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but we were watching Senate Judiciary Committee hearings take place on Capitol Hill in DC. I've been keeping another eye on that, so I've been keeping an eye on our EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit, but also been keeping a very close eye on Capitol Hill. Big day as we had President Trump's nominee for the vacant seat on the Supreme Court, and this is just a big deal. Just 3 weeks before election, and the Senate, the U.S. Senate, is consumed by business to push through, to force a Trump Supreme Court nominee into a vacant Supreme Court seat, that seat left vacant by the sudden and untimely passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so Judge Amy Coney Barrett appeared for her first day before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and it's going to be about 4 days. It's going to be this whole week of what are promising to be somewhat acrimonious hearings, and very tense hearings, especially when you've got a couple of senators on that committee who were tested positive for coronavirus, including Senator Mike Lee, who didn't have a mask on. He was just talking and, you know, for all we know, spewing coronavirus particles into the air. But very interesting conversation and moments happening in the Senate Judiciary Committee in D.C. on Capitol Hill earlier today. So we're watching that very closely. But the composition of the court is going to have a direct impact on issues like labor rights, like environmental rights, like voting rights, like civil rights. You know, and a lot of people are very worried about this. It's a very big deal, and just 3 weeks away from an election. Joining us now, and you can join in on the conversation as well, is Daryl Addison. He's founder, CEO of Torpedo Pot. Go to torpedopot.com for more information. We've been talking about these issues before with him. It's always good to have him on, and he joins us here on EcoWord. Daryl, how are you doing, sir? Good evening.
Hey, Charles. How you doing? It's good to be here. Thank you.
All right. It's very good to have you. Good. We've been talking quite a bit about food insecurity lately. You and I have been talking about, we've been talking about it on air, and I know we've talked about it a bit off record, you know, behind the scenes. And I wonder, in your opinion, how do we effectively mobilize communities, particularly our communities in a place like Philadelphia, around this issue of food insecurity?
It's a very good question. You know, we're all subject to whatever administration feels or deems that they want to roll out their programs. And from what we're hearing from Biden, that he believes in unions. And I think unions are great, and we need them. And I think that's the grassroots of America. But I don't know if unions represent African Americans. And so what I would look at is a different program that stimulates our communities as opposed to, or somehow including and making sure our communities are part of that process, are finding a better way to stimulate our communities than existing programs that we've been left out anyhow. So with us, Torpedo Pot, we believe that food, agriculture is something that we can readily understand and build on. I think taking advantage of our own food supply and developing our own farmers and our own businesses in the cities with the resources and the people that we have who need to eat, I think that could be very successful for the inner cities.
Why are we like being? I want to get your thoughts on this. And why isn't the city? Why aren't like policy makers? I mean, they kind of they see what's going on, and they see where we could head by radically transforming the economy to go in that direction. And why haven't we gotten there yet?
I think it's two main reasons. Is one is integrated. I think that you know, money begets money, and the powerful get more powerful. And when that happens, then you get those who are less powerful that are left out of that decision-making process.
Yeah.
And so I think that the conversations that need to take place aren't taking place because there is really no forum, and nor is there an understanding of what the needs are of the people who need it, or of the investors who want to commit their investments. There's no dialogue, so we don't understand the problems, and we've let it degrade so much. But I think that's part of it is the fact that you know, we're not part of the overall equation, and I think that's the major thing at this point.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting point that you make because it's going to take investment, it's going to take money, and I guess the key question is how much money would it take to create an infrastructure like this for our community, to create that kind of food sovereign, food secure industry or economy in a place like Philadelphia? Do we know?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because the first thing when you work with any opposing group, when you raise the issue of money, is like, oh my God, that money could be mine. But let's turn this table around a little bit and not look at it from how much money it would take. We should ask ourselves, how much would it take to spur other people's involvement in the process so they can produce their own money? It won't take much to touch our communities. Even with our company, Torpedo Pot, we can actually drop growing solutions in every city in the United States and let these entrepreneurs run with the ball themselves. I mean, if what we're talking about is rebuilding America, that's one thing. But having America rebuild itself, that should be the goal of any of the culture in which we live, the society in which we live in our Western culture society. Yeah. And so giving the people the tools to build doesn't take much. we simply have to have a plan to put in place.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking with Daryl Addison, founder, CEO of Torpedo Pot. Go to torpedopot.com, and you probably know quite a bit about it if you don't already. And I'm sure we'll be talking with Daryl. He's going to describe it in a few moments. But go to torpedopot.com for more on this wonderful invention. You've heard about it here on WURD, so I thought it would be appropriate, particularly as we're not just talking about environmental injustice, talking about the problem, but also looking for solutions and talking about people who are working on solutions right now. One element of environmental injustice is lack of food or lack of access to quality, healthy food. And so Torpedo Pot is a part of solving that problem. It's a big part of solving that problem. We have Daryl Addison on with us right now. I've never asked you, Daryl, like how you got into this, right? Like what triggered Torpedo Pot? Why were you thinking about it? How did you just suddenly come up with the concept?
Well, I love gardening, and it gave me the opportunity. Gardening gives me an opportunity to take the stress off of me. It gives me something to focus on and take me away from my daily day. And I realized that I can't do this anymore. I can no longer. The average gardener spends about $400 a year gardening. He's got to haul in dirt. She's got to bring in water lines. They got to protect from deers. Then they got rats and rodents that eat up their food and pests. And so there's no protection. And then they have to worry about the world. I mean, we realized that in the last 100 years, we've seen major erosion of the ability of the land to be productive. In Africa, we've watched that production fall off as much as 8.2%. But what I'm saying is that the world is contaminated, And so I know that I could not grow effectively. Even if I tried, I couldn't do it. So what I did is that I said, listen, I got to find a way to grow for myself and do it automatically. So like everybody else, we bring in these drip irrigation systems that cause bacteria buildup and can literally kill you. We use hydroponics that you have to clean out and cause bacteria that can kill you. So I developed a system and said, hey, listen, I want to feed millions of people. I want to feed my family first. Then after I found out I could do that, I said, well, let me improvise this concept and see if I can make it applicable to every temperature and every environment in the world. Yeah. And right now, for our planters, we can comfortably say that in 2 square feet, we can grow close to 200 to 500 peppers. We can grow cabbage and collard greens and everything else in a small space. So, yeah, what my inability led to my desire to want to feed and push this envelope to find out if we can push this globally, and we've been able to do it.
Yeah, you made the remark, because I invited you to be on a panel recently. The Green Philly blog had a symposium. They had a virtual symposium about a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about something that struck me that you said. Something that was it was very profound. You were like, we're still. You found it fascinating. You found it troubling that that human civilization, after 6,000 years of farming, something to that effect. I'm kind of paraphrasing here what you were saying. You can expound on it. But after 6,000 years of farming, we're still farming the same way. There hasn't been a whole lot of innovation in that space. Did I catch that correctly?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And let me see if I can crystallize it. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
Just imagine. We're walking outside, and even when I'm talking to you and the clients online right now, if I say, come on, let's go outside and plant some plants into the ground, the first thing will come to their mind, okay, let's get the shovel. Oh, let's get the spade. Let's get the trowel. Let's get the rake. Let's get all these tools. And I wanted your listeners to share with them, including to people that I run in my circles with, is that, do you realize that we're gardening with the same tools that the Egyptians did?
Right.
I mean, you got to ask yourself, is that crazy or what? And so the way we approach gardening is so embedded in our religious beliefs, our social, our psychological. And so when we think of these things, we go to the same tools because we've never been taught any differently. I mean, we've got the world's best agronomists working on building selective breeds so that they can, genetic breeds so that they can now create this superior group of crops. But even it's so elusive that they have not been able to grasp that concept. What am I doing? And so Torpedo Pot blows all of that out the water. With Torpedo Pot, you don't touch, forget it, throw those tools away. All you do is walk up, you drop your seeds in a pot, and it grows your food for you. You can't get any simpler than that.
You know, some people might say, well, there's a value, though, in gardening that way or gardening the same way for 6,000 years because, you know, you're learning about patience. You're learning about getting your hands dirty. You're learning, you know, that's your way to really, truly connect with the earth. So what do you say to that?
Well, I know the Bible talks about weeds being evil.
Right.
But I think it's such a nostalgic part of who we are that it's hard for us to break free from that and see it differently. So, yeah, we can look at it in terms of creates patience and industry and hard work and everything else.
Right.
But see, when I go to a computer and buy things from Amazon, I really don't see that taking place.
Right, yeah.
I see an electronic system that's producing my food and getting it at my doorstep in less than a day. So why would I think that working outside in the garden is somehow beautiful to my fingernails? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's that's an important point. Talking with Daryl Addison. You can join in on the conversation if you like to. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. I think we got a couple minutes before break, but I got a few more questions for you, so I might bring you over after the break, Daryl. How do you think we improve and activate more leadership around green issues like what you're doing with Torpedo Pot? Like food insecurity is a green issue or would be considered a green environmental issue. How do we improve and activate more leadership around those issues in our community and the Black community?
You know, the challenge is in America, which is a good thing and a bad thing, is that we believe that money changes everything.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell people that money is it's not the top thing you need to spur creativity. And so we're realizing is that you can come in with some environmental program and make Philadelphia green all you want to. But if it's really not integrated into the people on the ground, then it really has no effect at all.
Right.
So what we want to do more than anything else is to let the people in the city and suburbs around Philadelphia to be a partaker in their environment. They can see the food. They can save money. They don't have to water. Our pots run by themselves. The community gardens can be maintained. We submitted a plan to the city of Philadelphia. And, you know, under the woman that I love, Mrs. Blackwell, who's no longer in her position right now. But nevertheless, we submitted a plan. The city council, they came by my house. We set up a garden in West Philadelphia that we can eliminate food deserts in Philadelphia in 5 years. And this is how we do it. With Torpedo Pot, instead of building ourselves up into a corporate structure, we're moving out. We're taking the profits that we'll normally do for marketing and sales, and we say, you know what, let's put it back into the hands of the people of the city of Philadelphia so that we can give them jobs to not only expand good eating and good living, but also to create income for them. And this is our plan. It's worked perfectly. We're opening up 2 distributors in just the city of Philadelphia alone. And these are really dedicated, wonderful people. And we're excited about working with them because they see the future and they see the need for this. And therefore, they see the ability to create jobs and opportunities within their community.
So City Council, actually, you talked to City Council about this, looking to create some sort of partnership with the city. And so, you know, I'm going to take you on I'm going to go to break because I don't want to go over time. Daryl, just hold that thought because I'm real curious about that. So we have a caller, Mayo, out of Center City. Hold on for just one moment. We're here during our special WURD Environmental Justice Summit broadcast. I'm Charles Ellison, normally on Reality Check, but doing a bit of evening duty here today, this Monday, Indigenous Peoples Day, and it's Environmental Justice Summit Day as well. So we got Daryl Addison of Torpedo Pot. Phone lines are open too if you have questions or you want to inject some of your perspective in this. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
But they've got the experience.
I'm still in shock 3 or 4 years later that we're in this position now. Our democracy is at a pivotal point.
From the top, we don't trust our government. We see the trouble we're in economically. We've got 170,000 Americans dead, and yet this president will do anything he can to make it seem like things are better than they are.
I did more for the black community than anybody with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
It's our responsibility. If we don't lead that effort to make things better, we can't ask other people to do it. There is no good reason not to vote.
Right, we need to have individuals that are in office like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
They are our best shot to take us forward. And that's what makes me incredibly hopeful, but we really do have to work for this thing.
To the thousands who did not vote, we need you to show up for our future and for our country.
You cannot sit on the sidelines. You got to get in the game.
Paid for by Biden for president.
If you're thinking of voting by mail this election, remember that it's safe, it's secure, and it counts. But there are a few things to keep in mind. While the application deadline is October 27th, you should apply now and send your ballot back as early as possible, before November 3rd. When it comes to sending it back, you can drop it in the mail, use a designated drop box, or return it to a satellite election office. To find one or for more information, visit PhiladelphiaVotes.com.
Spend your evenings with Nick Taliaferro and Sincerely Sarita. Beginning Tuesday, October 13th, catch Nick Taliaferro as he returns to WURD Radio, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m., followed by Sincerely Sarita from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. Nick Taliaferro and Sincerely Sarita, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube.
Hey, Mama, you calling me for a change? You and Daddy all right?
We're fine. Can't your mama call and check on her babies and get a little advice?
You know you can. What do you need help with?
Well, despite COVID-19, you know I'm not letting anything stop your father and I from voting this year. But we're here in Pennsylvania. Should we go to our precinct as usual? What's the best way?
You mean I get to be Mama for a minute? All you have to do is go to aarp.org/election2020.
That's my favorite site, and they have a lot of information about the pandemic.
You only text me the website 3 times, but they have all the reliable, up-to-date voting information for voters 50 plus in every state. Want me to text it to you?
Girl, I know. It's aarp.org/election2020.
Well, me being your mama didn't last long.
That's because I'll always be your mama.
Yes, ma'am.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Independent Black Media.
All right, welcome back to here on EcoWord, our Environmental Justice Summit. Also, we've got EcoWord.com project manager Janine Kayembe. We still have Daryl Addison on line with us. Janine, hold on one second, because Daryl, I was just asking you were just telling us about how you had submitted a proposal to Philadelphia City Council about the mass deployment of torpedo pots, trying to create like a new kind of like innovative urban farming economy through use of torpedo pots. How'd that go? So what the city is wanting to partner with you, where'd that proposal go?
It was actually, it was beautiful, well accepted. We were backing, again, Mrs. Blackwell, and you know we love her to death. Literally, she's a beautiful person, and she's helped us so much. But we haven't pursued it after that. After she lost office, we pursued other efforts, but we left it on the table. Okay. But with her, with that effort, we not only assured her that we can eliminate food deserts within 5 years. We're going to roll out 3 major software packages. One is called the Hunger Portal. For those people who need food, they can simply call into the portal, and those who contribute food can share with those who don't have it. We have a food bank portal that those who are growing an abundant amount of food can divert it directly into the food banks in the city of Philadelphia. And we have the Grower Portal, which is the 3 powerful software packages. And what it does, this unites all of the urban gardens in the city of Philadelphia so they can combine together to be one solid trading block, which which means that it will elevate that food production space tremendously and give it notoriety as one of the greenest spaces in the United States, and they can sell food globally.
We had Mayo out of Center City who had called in real quick for our conversation with Daryl Addison. We're going to bring on Janine Kayembe, who's going to join us in a short moment. Mayo, can you hear us? Mayo out of Center City.
Right.
All right.
I just have two questions. One, what about these mega churches? I'm mentioning churches because they have a great deal of money and everything, and land. What are the mega churches here in Philadelphia and other cities talking about having your wonderful product, the torpedo pod? Also, I'd like to see somebody develop, do some kind of research or whatever, my mind just went blank, to a proposal to have a conference involving, because I'm very concerned about Africa, to have farmers from Africa to learn about your product, Mr. Paul. And I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daryl Addison, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very good, thank you. That's a very good question you asked. It's a lot of concern. And to tackle it first is that, yeah, we do have people working on policy issues to try to get this information in the hands of policymakers so that they can move on some of the initiatives. As far as Africa, we visited many countries in Africa. I just came back from Ghana to roll out initiatives to probably push our pots in Ghana. But just like we have problems, other countries have problems too, and we have to work through those problems. Some of the challenges that we have in Ghana is land rights, and we need to be able to update their network so that they can find out who the owners are of the land, and that's one of the challenges they have. It's a paper-based system and not an electronic-based system. But we love them, and we support them, but we have to work through these small issues first, just like we have to work through in America.
All right. Daryl Addison, who is founder, CEO of Torpedo Pot. Janine Kayembe is project manager for EcoWord.com, also responsible for much of this programming. I've been behind the scenes producing and putting many of these guests and these wonderful panels that we've had before you today. She joins us. She's in Zoom right now. I don't know if you are en route to the studio, Janine. Can you hear us, Janine?
No. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Charles?
Yeah, we can hear you pretty good. So just want to get your thoughts on what you were hearing from Daryl Addison about like that urban farming imperative and like he had this plan, this proposal he was submitted to the city council. That's something I'd like to revive and try to talk about more, see if we can get that more into the public discourse. But your thoughts on kind of where we are in Philly with urban farming, particularly during pandemic, are people understanding how imperative that is?
Yes, people are. One, I love this conversation with Daryl continuously about agricultural technologies developed by Black people for Black people, and just for people in general, but mainly for our communities is, what I really get from his work. And as far as urban farming right now in the city of Philadelphia, it's really important and imperative that we create, and this was talked about a little bit earlier, that we create these hyper-local economies. And I think that the urban farm has the potential, especially in the city, to be the hub and center of those economies, and food being the first thing, that's up for consumption. So I think deploying these types of technologies, like Daryl is saying, is definitely very smart and helpful. As a person who, owned and operated an urban farm and has worked on many farms, across the country and around the world. And then so I think that's great. And then to the woman's point about what's happening in the diaspora and in the continent, my wife does a lot of that work, really talking to farmers and making sure that they're understanding, like Daryl said, figuring out some of these smaller problems, which
I think we I hope
he
Janine
goes out and talks
there we go.
about cooperative economics, how to do we lose me?
I think we lost you for a minute there, Janine. For about 30. Can you hear us, Janine?
Okay.
What was that you were saying for about 30 seconds ago? I think, Janine, we probably hit a hiccup with you. It sounds like you're on the go. So Daryl, go ahead. Like, yeah, because that's real important, that technology. And we've discussed this before about like how we revolutionize the urban farming space. And so I mean, I see some real meaningful synergy there between like what you're doing and between what Janine is doing. Hold on one second, Janine, while we try to get the signal back. I just wanted to hear get Daryl's kind of thoughts and response to what you were saying. Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, I think Janine hit on something very important, and that is we have to, sometimes it's tough to unite a space that we're not in charge of.
Yeah.
But we have to understand the power of economics coming from the African-American community and various communities in the city of Philadelphia. The economic power of unison is unbelievably powerful.
Yes.
And so having many voices speak to that same problem really does, it gives us the visibility, but it also allows us to work with resources to bring it. We've identified in our space right now for the city of Philadelphia, we have identified 20 jobs, job types, job titles, job roles that will be created as a result of building this agricultural segment that you and Janine have been talking about. It's here. We simply have to pull it together, and we need resources from the city to identify those segments, to incentivize those segments, and to probably reduce the tax base so we can spur this type of growth that we're looking for the inner cities.
Well, really, with urban farms, a lot of them don't need the the tax credits, because a lot of us have been nonprofits. So we really need that funding to be able to feed the people. We're already doing the work of growing the food. I feel like city government and local government needs to hop in and redistribute some of these resources to start feeding the people.
I think that, Janine, and Charles, hope you'll let me respond. That's absolutely on point, what you just said. But the only reason why we're not only looking, we know we can produce enough food. The problem we need to take a look at is how we're producing that food. And we need to take a look at the sustainability. And so most agricultural segments, and I brought out in my last show talking to one of the workers, they're not making enough money to feed their own employees. It's not sustainable. With the new technology, we can grow more food and less space, and therefore these people can make a profit. And then make it something that is, make it a role and a title or an occupation that is something that people look up to and aspire to.
We're still talking with Daryl Addison. Janine, can you hear us? Were you trying to respond to that?
No, I mean, me and Daryl can go all day.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And, I really commend him for being an inventor. That is something that definitely needs to be said. So we need to continue to cultivate in that way.
Right. I'm actually gonna let Daryl go. Daryl, we're gonna let you go. Thanks so much. It took a little bit of time out of your Monday evening. I really appreciate this. It's giving food for thought, literally, no pun intended. Daryl Addison, founder, CEO at Torpedo Pot. Go to torpedopot.com for more information. Take care, Daryl. Thanks so much. Have a good evening. Be safe.
Thank you, sir. And Janine, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Daryl. Yes, can't wait to get my torpedo pot.
Exactly. So, hey, Janine, we've been going through this throughout the day, having a number of discussions and panels. And so how do you think it's been going? Like, you feel like people have been making a connection between what you've been hearing, also what you've been saying, what you've been hearing in terms of some of the listeners calling in, and also we've seen a lot of chatter on in the Facebook comments section for our WURD TV live stream. What's your kind of impression of whether or not?
And I just did an Instagram live with a chef, and folks are really loving this type of content. Charles. Folks are really worried about the environment and interested and intrigued and activated when these conversations are happening. You know, we had a conversation earlier today with the Black divers searching for our lost and stolen history. You know, Sarita talking with the young folks, the young indigenous folks from National Geographic's photo camp. They're talking about them reclaiming their history by taking these photos. So I think that today,
Go ahead, Janine. We missed you on that last. The connection's a little wobbly.
I'm sorry. I have all full bars.
Oh, there you go.
I think that folks are making the connection. People are really excited about some of the topics, and these are.
Tell you what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna
conversations that I could have in one.
And I'm sorry, Janine, because we're getting a lot of feedback. We're getting a lot of static. When you're tell you what, let's just do this. We're going to take a quick break. Janine, let's do this. Let's have you hang up and then try to call us back while we take this quick break. And then we also open up the phone lines, keep the phone lines open at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on EcoWord while we head into the final moments of our EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit. It's been a long day, but it's a long, good, productive day. It's been a long, productive day and lots of things to think about and lots of plans to activate. So let's do that. We'll also see if we can give Janine Kayembe a chance to get a better signal and so we can hear her a little bit more clearly while we end that conversation. But once again, the phone lines are open at 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on on EcoWord. It's not Reality Check, it's EcoWord here on WURD. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
According to the radical left, Kathy Barnett isn't supposed to exist, let alone be a candidate for United States Congress. See, Kathy Barnett is a black woman and a conservative. She spent 10 years in the Armed Forces Reserves. Kathy doesn't fit the victimhood mentality the left is selling. She grew up poor, and despite the odds against her, she built a good life. She loves America, and that's why she's running for Congress. Kathy Barnett not only exists, she lives the American dream.
I'm Kathy Barnett, and I approve this message.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Over 200,000 dead.
They are dying. That's true. It is what it is.
Millions unemployed.
It is what it is.
It doesn't have to be. Joe Biden has a plan to get us out of Trump's mess. Good-paying jobs, investing in black communities, and strengthening our health care. Trump might not care, but Joe Biden does. Make a plan to vote. Our lives depend on it.
Paid for by AFSCME People, which is responsible for the content of this ad. AFSCMEPeople.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
I'm Joe Biden, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
But they've got the experience.
I'm still in shock 3 or 4 years later that we're in this position now. Our democracy is at a pivotal point.
From the top, we don't trust our government. We see the trouble we're in economically. We've got 170,000 Americans dead, and yet this president will do anything he can to make it seem like things are better than they are.
I did more for the black community than anybody with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
It's our responsibility. If we don't lead that effort to make things better, we can't ask other people to do it. There is no good reason not to vote.
Right, we need to have individuals that are in office like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
They are our best shot to take us forward.
And that's what makes me incredibly hopeful, but we really do have to work for this thing.
To the thousands who did not vote, we need you to show up for our future and for our country.
You cannot sit on the sidelines. You got to get in the game.
Paid for by Biden for president.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
All right, we're back at it. EcoWord, the final moments of our EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit here on WURD. And we have Janine. Janine, we have you? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
I got
excellent.
all my bars. I'm not too sure if you guys are good.
Yeah, we're good. We couldn't hear. The connection was really bad before we went to break, so we just wanted to make sure you get a chance to reboot that. And so kind of moving forward, like as we're thinking a little bit more deliberately about this, what do you think is like kind of the next step moving forward in terms of mobilizing residents around an issue like this as they're connecting the dots? The one other thing that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about as much today are the public health aspects of this, making people understand that this is not just about the space they live within, the environment. This is also about their health, because the worse your environment is, the worse your health goes downhill with it.
Yeah, we definitely, I think Sarita spoke with Dr. Paul a little bit about, about health and wellness and some, really homeopathic ways towards it. But yeah, we touched on asthma a little bit earlier in the day. We touched on mental health and awareness as we're trying to organize, so I think that, if folks can't see the connecting the dots, I would want them to email me so we can talk. But the next step for me as far as activism goes, it's really about the self care and really looking with inside self on how you're able to keep up your wellness, because then for me, someone that practices this everyday life, I live off grid. We have solar panels. I live off compostable toilet. Like we are living with nature every day. And it takes a lot of self-reflection to even begin that journey. Whether it be eating practices, whether it be, do you throw trash out of your car window when you're riding down 52nd Street? So it really starts with the person first before you can activate in all of these other organizing spaces to really get the movement and to get the job done.
What were the discussions that stood out for you the most?
I really enjoyed Radmila Cody. I know I threw you right into that, Charles, but the language of our indigenous brothers and sisters, how they speak about this earth that we live on, the ways that they conceptualize creatively. My favorite line from her was, she said, we have to do this for our people that are both above the surface and below, which means honoring our ancestors that have returned to the ground and honoring the people that are living here still with us day by day. So that for me was it opened up the day amazingly because of that awareness and that intention of how our Native brothers and sisters live on this land. So that conversation really stood out. And then of course for me, my favorite was the Black Divers. I was so excited to hear about their excursions, learning how, Mr. Ken Stewart, an elder out there searching for, he's been looking 12 years, so I think that was a very dynamic conversation. And then of course, the Black Land Reclamation conversation. I wish we had more time to talk about that with Freedom Georgia and with my family on, the ways that we were able to reclaim land and how we're doing that for our community.
Right. No, it was real important. A lot of people, they hear about these issues, they hear these terms, and they're not quite understanding, one, what they mean, what they are, but how they're connected to them. And so I think that that's what we achieved, or at least what we were trying to achieve today. I'm hoping that we got through. Let us know if we did get through. 215-634-8065. I know a few of you have already called in and told us what we did. And I'm seeing people here too on our Facebook live stream at WURD TV, facebook.com/4word. And they're saying that, you know, we hit the right note. We hit the right chorus today. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. But, you know, the kudos and, you know, and sort of the pats on the back, that's not what I'm looking for. You know, after a conversation like this, after a day of this, Janine, I'm looking for some action. And, you know, I'm definitely looking to action for, like, I'm tired of the window dressing kind of rhetoric and conversation that you get from a lot of policymakers, particularly in a place like Philly, where they say they're going to do green things, and then they half step on it. You know what I mean? It's like looking at your front yard, and half of it is green and the other half is brown. So you know the other half is brown, or half of it is like, you know, kind of clean, is grass, you know, and the other half is just nothing but weeds, right? And I'm just tired of half greening it. You know, when it comes to a place like Philly, like there's a lot of half greening going on, you know, where people say, yeah, you know, we want to look green and it's stylish to look green. Like, I don't want you to just wear green. I actually want you to be green in a way that saves the city and helps people achieve an optimal, they maximize their quality of life, they maximize their health, and at the same time, they're able to make a living off of it. And it's just so many easy ways. It's just so many easy ways. That's the one thing that strikes me with a conversation like this, when we have these conversations and we talk to people who are in the business, how easy it is to go in that direction. It is so easy to go. This is not something that requires a big multi-billion-dollar investment.
I think that's my main point, is that the activators have to be the people with the resources. I really applaud Malcolm Kenyatta. His office was able to sponsor a few green initiatives, and they put the money where the policy is, or not even in the policy, they put it directly into the hands of the organizers. And we need to continue to advocate to our folks that we know that have those resources, that have those extra coins, because you're right, Charles, it's not $1 billion investment. We're talking $1 million into the Philadelphia urban farming and environmental justice industry. People will be able to multiply that. I mean, we already are growing 3 million pounds of food just in the urban farms alone.
Right.
And that's with a minimum, we're talking people are running off of $100,000 budgets, Charles. When you have these gigantic farms who are running off of millions because of corporations, but only growing one crop and having nobody do the work, and, you know, underpaying migrant workers to do the work alongside the machines. So we really need folks that are in that upper middle class, that have those extra dollars, and they need to start trickling that to the folks who are doing the work, because the folks who are doing the work on the front line, like myself, that was getting paid $20,000 a year to feed people and couldn't feed myself and my family, we can't do that anymore. We're exhausted. So folks that haven't been doing this frontline work need to really step up and think about where they're putting their dollars and their investment, along with the policymakers and the folks that are running the show.
And, you know, and that has to be consistent with the policymakers. You know, we appreciate the efforts of, like, certain folks in the legislature, certain folks in the city council, but they have to be consistent, though, in the way they do. You know, we know that they're doing a lot of public facing, they're doing a lot of work, like whether it's Representative Malcolm Kenyatta or State Representative Donna Bullock. But, you know, at the same time, you know, we got to also kind of hold them accountable and keep a real close eye on their policy record and on their voting record. Like, I mean, these were state representatives now who did, like, not too long ago had voted on, you know, particular legislation in the State House, in the Pennsylvania State House, giving a multi-million-dollar tax break to certain elements of the fracking industry in Pennsylvania. So, you know, it's like, I understand there's certain like pressures, certain interest pressures that go on, certain.
Yeah, that's political voting stuff.
Yeah,
That has nothing to do with people's health and wellness. Because fracking can never be voted out.
Exactly, but fracking is a big deal in PA, and people feel like it's a lot of jobs, but it's also hurting a lot of people. So we have to make sure too, the policymakers, whether they're in Harrisburg or City Council, be consistent. Like if you want to go clean energy, green, we're talking about like the fate of the planet, the fate of different communities, particularly our communities. You got to go the distance on this, and so, but it's hard, it's tough, and we got to make sure that we're supporting. Of course, they want to move in that direction, so we have to make sure we're voting and we're also supporting those efforts as residents, as citizens, in really big and really movement ways.
Oh yeah, Donna Bullock has been consistent. She was there day one when we started our urban farm, and she has her own way of doing the things. But if you want to talk about someone that's been consistent with making sure that folks have access to this type of work,
that's right.
I applaud her. And yes, let's keep it coming. We need more folks on the bandwagon. Because a lot of folks, aren't consistent, like you said, Charles, with how they're voting versus how they actually show up in their communities.
Right. You got to make sure it's all across the board. We got to make sure also that, we're also selling that business case because there's a lot of interest out there. Like, for example, Philadelphia is a big union town. And so, there's still lots of old industries, old political interests, old policy interests that still feel like, hey, you know what, if we go too green, we go too clean energy, we'll lose jobs. No, actually, the benefit of this, you actually gain more green, clean energy jobs than the jobs that you're starting to hemorrhage already by staying with those fossil fuel so-called. I like how Representative Chris Rabb said that, like, he doesn't like to call it natural gas, it's fracking gas. So there's no such thing as natural gas. So you're seeing the process already of jobs being lost in the fossil fuel industries and industries like coal and those old school, old energy industries. You actually gain 2-3 times the amount of jobs. If you suddenly say,
jobs, Charles, just energy, health in general.
Just the health, exactly, because then you're going to
just health. Why would we want to send? I'm never going to send my son to a coal mine.
Right.
I don't care what type of legacy you want to have. Right. There's no way that I'm sending myself to get a job to blow the top off the mountain on somebody's indigenous reservation.
Right. Exactly.
Like you might be losing jobs, but we're saving souls.
Look, saving souls, saving lives. You're saving jobs, you're saving lives, you're saving souls. Just the benefits across the board outweigh whatever these risks that a lot of folks who are still stuck. And this is folks across the board, across both parties, across both ideological spans. You'll still have this hesitation for us to go total clean energy or go to and put ourselves in a situation where we completely save ourselves from like oblivion pretty much if we don't do this. And so it's so crucially imperative is there. Let me give you last words, Janine. Go ahead.
I think my last thought was that the more we lean out of sustainable practice, the more we refuse the science and what's true. And I think that, it is going to be a journey. It is going to take a while, but the point that I really want to drive home is that for us, I know that for us as Black people, we are seeking racial justice. And the way to racial justice, we have to make a stop at gender justice. We have to make a stop at environmental justice. We have to make a stop at economic justice. And that will eventually lead us to racial justice. So I think that we really need to start thinking about how we are going to impact our environment in a positive way in order to, really get the civil rights that we're looking for.
Hey, real quick, I got a minute. Let me just give it to Lynn out of Darby. She was just calling now. She's waiting patient. I can give you a minute, Lynn. How are you doing?
Okay.
Good evening.
I'm going to make it real quick, Charles. You and your guest host, you really said it all. And I just think that because we involved in our environment and saving our health and growing our own food. For all the reasons that you and your guest said, Trump has opened my eyes, and I think it's going to pick up because I enjoy everything about the program today. I really did. I was up since 6 listening to it, like I said, in between errands, and I just gained a lot of knowledge. And because of the COVID, I think people would be more involved. I mean, one of your farms is right around where I grew up, Walluzin Avenue. And last time we had an event at the Bartram Gardens, I was on board, you know. And I just think because of the COVID, it has hindered a lot of people. But I think you're going to get a large response based on the show today because of our health and growing our own food and because of poor leadership. We got to do something. We got to get involved with the activists and, you know, no more plants and incinerators because it really directly affects our health. And right. Good job all day long. I really enjoyed it. God bless y'all.
Thank you. And that's
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Lynn. And that's really important what she just said, where she ended it. And that's something like for people to think about because this Philadelphia City Council voted to approve 2 more natural gas plants, liquefied natural gas plants in Philadelphia. Last thing Philadelphia needs. Yeah. So, I mean, that happened in recent years. So, you know, a majority of the city council. So we're going to have to continue to talk about this and act on it in a lot of ways. But that ends this. I don't want to go overtime. We actually have to not just go to break, but this ends our Environmental Justice Summit. I'm Charles Ellison. Janine,
thank you, Charles.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Go to ecoword.com for more information. I will talk to you tomorrow during Reality Check at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to head into an encore presentation of Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton coming up next here on WURD Philly and beyond. I want you to stay sharp, stay smart, but more importantly, stay safe out there, especially this evening. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Take care.